Добрий день. Hello, everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself again. I'm Tetiana Chorna. I'm the university librarian at the National University of Kyiv Mohyla Academy. And I'd like to thank the organizers of this meeting for inviting me here. And I'd like to share with you today an overview of the risks we face every day. Let me start with words of Sergei Gladkevich. It's flying. You are drinking coffee and planning your current day, but this day has already finished because it's flying. But you don't know about it and continue drinking coffee by observing the beauty of your city. And someone is eating breakfast with family the last time because it's flying. And baby doesn't want to eat porridge and mom is showing him a favorite toy the last time because it's flying. And someone is saying goodbye and rushes to work the last time. Yes, exactly, because it's flying. It's flying to kill them. It's flying to take their lives because of other languages, other thoughts, their resistance and love of freedom. Books will be written and film will be made after that. But it will be in the future. The pain feels different over time. The pain goes away after a while. But time is different now. Time is in every second now. From missile arrives to missile arrives. From the air alarm to the next one, from life to death. This is the air raid alert map of Ukraine. It's red because of the daily Russian attacks and there is no safe place. We will never forget day, February 24, 2022. This is the day of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine when Russia has launched air and missile strikes from different directions on my country. Millions of refugees from Ukraine have crossed borders into neighboring countries, and many more have been forced to move inside the country. According to the latest United Nations data, the number of Ukrainians who have fled their homes has reached 14 million. It's estimated that over 9,000 civilians, including about 500 children, have been killed. According to the Minister of Culture, as of February 1st, over 1,500 cultural heritage and cultural infrastructure objects have been damaged or destroyed. The Ukrainian Culture Foundation has launched an interactive map of cultural losses to demonstrate the scale of the cultural damage Ukraine has suffered as a result of a Russian invasion. According to the Ministry of Education and Science, more than 2,700 educational institutions and schools were damaged by bombing and shelling. 337 of them were completely destroyed. And since every school has a library, we can correlate these numbers with school libraries. There are a number of libraries, archives, museums that have suffered physical damage to their buildings by missile bombardment or have been under potential threat. Out of 434 public libraries were partially destroyed or suffered minor damage. 79 libraries have already restarted their activities after renovation. 42 public libraries lost all library collections. 3 national and state libraries were damaged. On this slide, you can see the Maximovich Scientific Library. It's a main scientific library of the Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv. Fortunately, the library collection was not damaged. Currently, there is no accurate data on losses among university libraries. We know about significant destruction of libraries of many universities in Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Kherson, Mariupol, some university libraries in Kyiv, Irpin, Chernihiv. In the occupied cities, the Russians take Ukrainian books out of libraries to an unknown destination, most likely just to burn them. Russia is carrying out systematic work to destroy Ukrainian identity at all levels. You can see here a Ukrainian serviceman looking through a book at an abandoned library in the town of Mariinka. I'd like to mention that the rare books from Ukrainians' unoccupied territories have been relocated to safer places. Unfortunately, some library collections were lost forever. When the time comes, it will be necessary to restore lost collections. Currently, some libraries create their own additional collections for transfer to the damaged or destroyed libraries, and that will be rebuilt after our victory. In this part of my presentation, I'd like to talk about Kyiv Mohyla Academy's library and highlight the following points. The year 2022 was a real test of sustainability for Ukraine in general, as well as for the university community. During 6 months after February 24, some of our librarians have provided online services to users from severe places. However, other librarians were free from their job duties, but they were paid minimum salary. Since September 2022, reading rooms have been opened and users could continue to use the library services, all library services. Our library holds more than 750,000 volumes. I'm sorry, forget. Our library holds more than 750,000 volumes, which includes about 90,000 volumes of rare books, and among them, 72 personal book collections of famous Ukrainians. Fortunately, the book collections of Naukma Library is safe. Despite all challenges and difficulties, we are actively involved in the process of digitizing rare books. And now more than 1,000 books in our library. Books and newspapers and archives are available online. We continue to provide a broad range of services to our users, online and offline, despite Russian missiles, network shutdowns, blackouts, or interruptions in the heat and water supply. Moreover, Ukrainians will always find the way out of any situations. We have organized the unbreakable point in the library. We offer all conveniences for our users. As part of safety plan, we have organized bomb shelters for library staff and students, and when an air alarm sounds, we should all proceed to shelter to stay there, to stay alive. During this war, Ukrainian libraries serve new roles. They operate as centers for displaced persons. They offer psychological counseling for traumatized populations. They provide space for art therapy. Reading rooms are opened. They are resuming the work which is to build Ukrainian culture day by day. On this slide, you can see how Russians threw away the Azov University library books in occupied Mariupol. Russian war invasion in Ukraine caused extensive damage throughout Ukraine. We understand that there is an urgent need to safeguard valuable documentary heritage in Ukraine and its digital data. In 2022, UNESCO initiated the project to safeguard documentary heritage in danger, including digitization and the development of the National Digital Library of Ukraine. In June, UNESCO organized the initial partners meeting at which a project concept note was presented to Ukrainian and international partners in the context of the Memory of the World program. A key outcome was the setting up of a technical working group located in the Ukrainian Library Association and to begin groundwork on the setting up of the National Digital Library of Ukraine. The project partners are UNESCO, the International Federation of Library Associations, Ukrainian Library Association, memory institutions in Ukraine, and Ministry of Culture and Informational Policy of Ukraine. Currently, we have the list of libraries that holds the largest number of cultural heritage and the data on already digitized book by these libraries, as well as a list of books which need to be digitized. In addition, we need to create a list of regulations and different guides for the National Digital Library of Ukraine. We need software and equipment. Already digitized books need to be revised and corrected to the international standards. We should provide library staff with trainings. We are absolutely sure that the National Digital Library of Ukraine is very important to save Ukrainian culture, heritage to the world and to the next generation. As a final point, I'd like to inform about other important information. The Ministry of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine initiated the project Save Ukrainian Culture. The goal of this project is to draw attention to the war crimes of the Russia aggressor country in Ukraine, to restore and preserve the objects of the cultural heritage of Ukraine that suffered from Russian military aggression. A special account was created to collect funds for the reconstruction of destroyed cultural objects. You may ask me how to support Ukrainian libraries and librarians. Well, the Ukrainian Library Association and the American Library Association established the Ukrainian Library Support Fund, which accumulates charitable contributions to help Ukrainian librarians. American colleagues help us preserve libraries and library collections, provide library services without interruption, and provide financial assistance to librarians impacted by the Russian invasion. Before I finish, let me just say thank you to all those who help us in this terrible time. Thank you to everyone who protects Ukrainians, and thank you for your support. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, Tetiana. We have plenty of time for questions, but I found that very poignant. I mean, I think both the library is a symbol of perseverance in the face of great conflict, but also a reminder that cultural heritage objects are people. And when we're dealing with cultural heritage objects in our own collections, that the disruption of people and the loss of people is reflected in those collections as well. We have plenty of time for questions. If you're happy to take a few questions, Tetiana.
If I can.
If you can, it's fine. So the chat window, again, is open online, and the fluffy blue microphones are once again in circulation. So I'll open the floor for a few questions. There's a question here in the front.
Thank you very much. We'll love this. You were talking about the international assistance you were getting through organisations such as IFLA and UNESCO, with the initiatives or programmes that they are starting up in cooperation with people such as yourself. Are you being provided with enough sufficient resources to actually carry out the digitisation and safeguarding of the documentary heritage, or is there anything is there one or a few things that you would say that you're still in great need of to expedite the process?
Am I correct to understand you about digitalization library collections? Yes. I can say that these international organizations, help us with financial support, and we work together with our colleagues in Ukraine, hard work to create this National Digital Library of Ukraine. It's a long period of time we are planning to create this digital library, but it was not possible because of different consequences. But these organizations help us financially and as an experts. So we do appreciate it.
Was there questions in the room? I don't know. Yeah, from the Zoom.
Oh, we have a question. Thank you very much for coming here, and for we hope to see the success of your struggles. We have a question. Who is there? Could you tell us anything about who is collecting data about the library losses? Is there any particular institution or any particular like where does the data come from regarding the library losses?
It's very good questions. I know that the Ministry of Culture and Informational Policy creates this database, but the information comes from different people who are now on occupied territories and who can connect to them. And the Ukrainian Library Association contact to our librarians wherever they are now, and they give us this information. But we don't know enough. We don't know the real data about the losses. We know just that library collections was burned or stolen, but how many we can't count right now.
Thank you. We have a question in the backyard.
Thank you so much for coming to speak to us today. I think that what you're doing is really important. Do you have much contact with the Ministry of Justice, who are responsible for the archives of Ukraine, is my question. And also just to highlight actually that I know, for example, Claire Maguire of IFLA is doing a lot of work to help coordinate tracking the damage. I'm sure you're probably in touch with her, but if not, that might be a helpful person. But yeah, do you have much contact with the archives through the Ministry of Justice?
All archive institutions in Ukraine are very actively involved in the process of digitalization their documents. And these institutions are lucky, and they work very hard on this process. Yes, we some of archive institutions now in the working group on the digitalization, on creating national digital library. They are an experts for our creating this digital library. We talk with them how to build and how to maintain. They have a good experience on digitalization archive documents.
From the Zoom call, yes.
Yes, the poem that you started the presentation with apparently touched a lot of our attendees, where we have at the moment over 130 digital participants. Could you tell us a little bit about the author, or where who wrote the poem?
I didn't understand.
At the beginning of your presentation, you read a poem, a very strong and poignant poem.
Yes, poem about
who the author of the poem was.
Sergei Gladkevich. I have found these words in Ukrainian, I think in Facebook. So it was so close to me, and then I translated it, and it's my translation. Sorry for this. So a lot of words about war, about feelings of our people, and we can find in messages, Telegram, Facebook, or wherever, whatever. But it's really that word that happened right now in Ukraine. We I can't say that we get used to this situation, but we can manage this this situation. We have instructions. We know where we should to go. Our children go to school, and they have instruction where they can hide. So we are waiting for the victory, I say.
May I ask a question? So you showed a very poignant picture of books stacked out in front of Mariupol, a library in Mariupol. Are the Russian occupiers who are sacking libraries and memory institutions, are they specifically targeting Ukrainian works in a way to destroy Ukrainian identity and memory? Is this a very implicit act that you're seeing in libraries and memory institutions?
I can say, on one hand, it's directly Ukrainian works, but sometimes it's occasionally missile through to the library or university or the hospital. It happens, but really we know the information that they're specifically find Ukrainian books and burn them in front of other people to say that there is no Ukrainians, there is no the country Ukraine.
Yeah.
Just to...
Do we have any further questions? Yeah, Meg, if we could launch the blue box to Meg, please.
Thank you for not throwing the box. Thank you again for coming to speak to us today. Everything you said was so touching, and I confess that this is a comment as much of as a question, but also an invitation for you to tell us more, that your situation just heightens all the things we wish for libraries, both the preservation of cultural heritage, but the use of libraries as community spaces to bring people together and provide the services that people need the most, both information and support. And I particularly invite you to tell us more about that function as central community service providers for the Ukrainian people. You mentioned psychological counseling, and it's just everything we hope for from libraries, you seem to be doing, and it's inspiring.
Thank you for the question. I can say that Ukrainian libraries divided on two categories: university libraries and public libraries. University libraries made some, as I mentioned before, unbreakable points where we can meet different students from different universities. It does not matter the user of which university he or she is. Public libraries serve other people. They give their mentioned services before: art therapy, psychological counseling, and it's a huge work. We don't stop the meetings with different Ukrainians in the public libraries, in the national libraries like Odessa, even from the shelters. We make meetings with different people. So we are working, and we can't stop.
I think we'll bring the questions to a close, if that's okay. Can we please thank Tetiana again for coming and sharing her experiences with us today? Thank you.